Welcome to Ultimate Skincare and Beauty Report. I'm Mary Winkenwerder. Cosmetic makeup can offer millions of solutions for highlighting and enhancing our face features. The right combination of color and formula can shave off years in a matter of 15 minutes. At the end of the day, when the makeup is gone, so is the visual effect. Is there a way to keep the visual face feature effect without having to see it go away at the end of the day? Joining us this episode is Dr. Cynthia Elliott to share with us more about how this can be done in a short period of time. Dr. Elliott, welcome to Ultimate Skincare and Beauty Report.
Hi, Mary. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you join us. So I love the idea, as a former makeup artist, using color enhancement to visually expand face features. As a former makeup artist, this is a way to quickly address the issue. If someone wanted to enhance their facial features without having to invest hours of cosmetic artistry, what options are there?
This is an interesting idea that from growing up female and reading Glamour, where you would always see the little diagrams of where to place your highlighter, which,
Right.
Obviously you know well. I learned that when we started doing dermal fillers that if you added a little bit of volume to those areas where we usually place highlighter, that volume catches the light, just like highlighter. So, for instance, the very center of the nose, under the brows, the top of the cheeks, the chin, adding just, not that you necessarily needed more volume there, but just adding a little bit of projection there will catch the light and give you that appearance that you get when you use highlighter in those ways. And it's a great thing because it can last a year, and it just looks, it's completely natural looking. It's just natural highlighter.
That's incredible. So let's talk about the treatment areas from zone to zone. Number one, you mentioned the nose. Is that the only thing that you can have done to the nose area to enhance it?
No, you can use dermal fillers to make a hook nose up here straight. You can, sometimes people have nasal surgery and it'll look a little bit shifted one side or the other, or it seems a little bit more narrow on one side of the bridge. And you can use a dermal filler to just correct it. It looks just like you had surgical correction. And it's also reversible in some cases depending on what you use. It can last over a year and people would swear that it's your nose. But you can also make a wide nose look a little bit more opulent by just putting down one little thread down the middle, and that catches the light, and almost it just looks like your nose is thinner.
That's incredible. That's amazing. Wow, that is absolutely amazing. And what about the cheek area? I mean, where does that normally? What officially is that zone area? Is that just this area here?
When we talk about the cheeks, we usually do talk about that area, but we talk about that whole bone that goes from under your eye up towards your temple.
Okay. So that goes clear up to the hairline?
Exactly.
Okay.
It just tapers. But you want it to do that. You want it to taper, but have a little bit of elevation that goes all the way up there so that when you smile, you have a nice smooth curve that goes all the way right up into your hairline. But it just enhances your cheekbone and it catches that light. And it's very flattering, and when people look at you straight on, they have more of a tendency to stay at your eye level.
That's incredible. And what about the brow bone area? That would be this area here and going up to the hairline, or where is that officially?
Most of the time with brows, what we'll do is we'll put in a little bit of filler underneath the
Ah,
muscle, and
okay.
it's right. And so since I don't know makeup that well, I don't know if that's always where you put highlighter, but we'll just add a little bit, and it's almost counterintuitive because you would think this would make it look saggy, but
Mm-hmm.
it actually replaces fat that you start losing in your 20s, and it elevates the brow because it fills it back out. Also, to lift that brow up too, we'll put filler into the temple, and that helps to pull the brow up, especially if somebody wants to raise their brows, besides just flattering the brow bone, and that pulls that frame up and fills in an area that we also lose fat in.
So another area would be the chin area. And what area on the face do you address when approaching it with fillers?
With the chin, if we're trying to give it that highlighted look or just to catch the light, we'll stay mostly just in the front here. If
Okay.
it's more a youthful look we want to go for, we'll also put in a little bit to fill in here and along the jawline here, which makes the whole jawline look tighter, because then we don't have that shadow. Because what we're trying to do is we want less shadows in a nice, smooth, evenly lit face, but with the upper parts catching the light. So if
That's
we get rid of deep
incredible.
shadows along the jawline, it just makes the jawline look tighter, even though it's just reinflated.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. And what about the neck area? That seems to be at some point in life, all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you just want to scream because it doesn't look useful, and it seems to happen overnight, and it comes up when you least need it to.
You're
But
right.
yeah.
It's, it's just like you see a picture of yourself and from the side, and when did that happen?
Yeah,
Because it suddenly looks so bad compared to the last time you saw it.
right.
And with that, it's really interesting that when you reinflate the face, just back to more youthful proportions, how much of a difference it makes with the neck, because the skin on the neck is sometimes just from what's sagging down below, but when you pull it back up, it's actually not just loose skin or stretched out skin. It's just skin that isn't being held up like it used to be. So even doing along the jawline, because we lose bone in the back of the jaw as we get older,
Okay.
as well as bone in the front. As you lose that bone, now you have more skin heading south. So when you put back in that nice tight jawline, it actually lifts the neck without even touching the neck.
That's incredible. I never really stopped to think about that because I didn't really think about losing bone back in the jaw area that would keep all of this, very nice and tight, so to speak. So, for anyone who wishes to have any of these treatments, what all do they need to do in order to prepare?
Usually, if we're going to do it with injections, which is basically kind of a liquid facelift, if we're going to use injections, we'd want them to stop aspirin for at least a week ahead of time. We'd like them
Okay.
to stop the fish oil, anti-inflammatories, anything that can make them bruise that they don't have to take. Stop at least a week ahead of time. But besides that, really try not to do it when you have a big social event coming up, because it can bruise
Right.
and it may swell a little bit. So we try to have them do it at least a week before anything social that they're not going to be comfortable wearing concealer too.
Sure. So, what does downtime look like for each of these treatments?
With simple, just adding a little of enhancement by filling in areas that we usually put highlighter, there may be a little bit of bruising. They're all areas that are fairly easy to use concealer and keep concealer on all day. They don't usually swell much. So those are all pretty straightforward. If we're going to go ahead and do a fair amount of filler, where we're going to be like lifting out the cheeks for volume, to replace lost volume, to take a few years off, there's more of a chance of bruising because there's more injections.
Sure. And how long can these treatments last?
There are permanent fillers now that the fill will be there forever. Your face will
Wow.
continue to deflate, so you may not see the results for that long, but usually, you're going to get several years out of it. Most people probably are not using permanent fillers until they may be 70s, 60s, or 70s. Most of the other fillers, the most common ones, are probably going to last about a year, year and a half. We don't usually have to put too much in yearly to maintain it. So once they reach the effect that they want, they just once a year maybe come in and add a small amount just to kind of top off the tank.
That's amazing. And what kind of maintenance, like topical maintenance, is needed post-treatment?
Right after the treatment, if somebody has a tendency to bruise or they really don't want to bruise any longer than they have to, we'll have them use something like arnica and bromelain, and then they can use an arnica cream. But in general, to improve the skin texture afterwards too, just to add to the effects, we'll use medical grade skincare products like tretinoin.
Mm-hmm. So Dr. Elliott, if somebody wanted to find out more about these treatments, where could they catch up with you online?
They can reach us probably at our website. The easiest way is www.skinspirations.com.
Wonderful. Dr. Elliott, thanks so much for joining us. It's been great having you on the show.
Thank you, Mary. Thanks a lot.
All right. Catch up with me on my blog, www.beautybeautereport.com, and on Twitter @BeautyPublicist. Everyone, thanks so much for joining us on Ultimate Skincare and Beauty Report. Have a beautiful and successful week. Mwah.